Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Gates. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Beyond the Gates, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. Vanessa. I was in Puerto Rico, thinking life was finally giving me a break. And then the call came. My husband, he was gone.
Dead.
In a car crash. And it wasn't just an accident. I knew that the moment I heard his name. Vanessa. I didn't know if I could breathe. I didn't know if I could survive. And then Joey, he was there.
Smiling.
Threatening me. Telling me to watch who I trust. And suddenly, my grief wasn't the only thing I had to fight. Vanessa. But Nicole, my best friend, my lifeline, she didn't let me face it alone. Every hug, every word, it reminded me that even in the darkest storm, you can survive. Vanessa, I lost the love of my life. I faced fear that could have destroyed me. And yet, I'm still standing. This is my story. And it's only the beginning. I remember the moment my world shattered like glass. It was one of those moments that sears itself into your memory, the kind you never forget because it changes you forever. I was in Puerto Rico with Joey Armstrong. Or rather, I was supposed to be enjoying a romantic getaway. The sun was bright, the ocean stretched endlessly in shades of turquoise, and for a fleeting moment, I felt like maybe, just maybe, life had given me a break. But then my phone rang, and everything fell apart. Jacob Hawthorne's name flashed across the screen, and even before I answered, a chill ran through me. There was a heaviness in the air I couldn't explain, and when I heard his voice, measured, hesitant, almost too calm, I knew something was terribly wrong. Vanessa, it's Doug. The words hit me like a thunderclap. My husband, Doug McBride, gone.
Dead.
In a car crash. And under the influence, he had said. My knees buckled, and for a moment, the beautiful Puerto Rican sun seemed to mock me, shining so brightly as if nothing had changed. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could feel was a swirling chaos inside me, a storm of grief, guilt, and disbelief. I dropped the phone on the bed and sank to the floor, clutching at nothing but the cold tile beneath my fingers, desperate to ground myself. I kept repeating his name, whispering it like a prayer, like saying it over and over would somehow bring him back. Doug, but there was only silence. Joey was there, standing by the balcony, leaning on the railing like he owned the world, but even he looked startled by the rawness of my pain. He reached out to me, and I remember the awkwardness in his gesture. He didn't know how to comfort someone in a grief this deep. Not many people do. I think he realized it too late. The world had tilted, and no one could stop it from spinning. We booked the first flight back to Fairmont, Crest, though the journey felt surreal. I barely noticed the clouds outside the plane window. I barely felt the hum of the engines. All I could think about was the house that would now feel empty, the bed that would never again have his side warmed by his presence, the countless little routines we'd shared that suddenly felt like echoes of a life that had been stolen. When we landed, Nicole Richardson was waiting. My best friend, my therapist, the person who had somehow always known what to say when the world got too heavy. I don't think I was prepared for the sight of her at the airport, her arms wide, her face tight with worry, but the moment I saw her, I felt the tiniest flicker of relief. Maybe I wasn't completely alone in this. I ran into her embrace like a drowning person reaching for air. She held me so tightly, whispering my name, letting me sob into her shoulder. And I did. I sobbed like I hadn't since I was a child, letting the grief spill out in waves that felt endless. Nicole didn't speak much. Sometimes, words are worthless against the enormity of loss, but her presence was everything. She reminded me that I could survive this, that I didn't have to face it alone. And yet, as I clung to her, part of me wanted to just disappear, to melt into the floor and escape the harshness of reality. Later, when I finally managed to pull myself together enough to face the house, it was like stepping into a mausoleum disguised as a home. Doug's shoes were still by the door. His favorite coffee mug sat on the counter, untouched. The quiet was suffocating. I wandered from room to room, each memory hitting me like a sucker punch. Photographs, scattered papers, the little notes he used to leave in the kitchen. Each one whispered the cruel reminder that he was gone. And then came Joey.
Of course it was Joey.
He had a presence that commanded attention, a kind of danger that lurked beneath every smile. When he stepped into the house, I felt it immediately. This isn't just grief I'm fighting. There's something darker at play. He leaned against the doorway, his eyes cold but calculating, and spoke with a calmness that was chilling. Vanessa, be careful who you trust. That was the threat, thinly veiled, but unmistakable. I knew, deep down, that he was capable of far worse than words. I hated him. I feared him. And yet, there was an almost magnetic pull I couldn't ignore. He had orchestrated Doug's death, no doubt about it. Detective Marcel Malone had helped him make it look like an accident, and now here he was, a living reminder that the world wasn't just unfair, it was dangerous. Every shadow in the house felt like it could be him, waiting, watching. I felt trapped, vulnerable, and powerless. Nicole didn't let me face Joey alone. She stood by my side, her hand gripping mine tightly. She knew how to talk to me, how to ground me, how to anchor me when my emotions threatened to drown me completely. You are stronger than this, Vanessa, she said softly, her voice unwavering even as the storm raged inside me. We'll get through this. You're not alone. Her words were small armor against the terrifying reality, and though I was shaking, I clung to them desperately. That night, sleep was impossible. I sat by the window, staring out at the lights of Fairmont Crest, thinking about Doug, about Joey, about the fragility of life. I thought about the lies we tell ourselves, about the illusions of safety, about how quickly everything can change. I felt every second stretch out, each tick of the clock a reminder that nothing would ever be the same again. And yet, even in the darkness, there were moments of clarity. I realized that grief isn't a straight path. It's jagged, unpredictable, and relentless. I realized that fear can be a tool, a weapon, but so can courage. And I realized that Nicole's presence, unwavering and patient, was a lifeline I could cling to. I didn't know what Joey's next move would be. I didn't know if Bill Hamilton would challenge him, or if the dangerous balance of power in Fairmont Crest would spiral out of control. All I knew was that I had to survive, for Doug, for myself, for the fragile spark of hope that still flickered somewhere deep inside me. In the following days, I tried to piece together my shattered reality. Each conversation with Nicole, each memory of Doug, each glimpse of Joey lurking in the background felt like a test of my strength. The grief, the fear, the anger, they all collided inside me, but slowly, imperceptibly, I began to understand that surviving doesn't mean erasing the pain. Surviving means moving through it, even when every step feels unbearable. And through it all, Nicole stayed. She didn't flinch. She didn't judge. She just held space for me, let me cry, let me scream, let me be human. And in those moments, I realized something vital. Even in the face of unspeakable loss, even when darkness threatens to consume every corner of your world, the presence of someone who truly cares can be a lifeline, a fragile but real tether to life itself. By the time Friday rolled around, Leslie Thomas's extravagant gift to her daughter Eva seemed like a distant, irrelevant distraction. I couldn't care about luxury cars or condos. My world had been stripped down to its rawest elements: grief, fear, friendship, and survival. And yet, even amidst the chaos, life insisted on moving forward. People smiled, joked, schemed, and lived their lives, reminding me that the world outside my pain still existed. Joey's threat lingered in my mind, a shadow I couldn't shake. He was dangerous, yes, but I began to understand that his power over me was only as strong as my willingness to let it dominate me. With Nicole by my side, I felt, for the first time in days, a flicker of agency. I might not be able to undo what had happened, but I could choose how to respond. I could choose to stand, to fight, to survive. It wasn't easy. It would never be easy. But I had begun to learn the most important lesson of all. Even when life rips everything away, Even when the people you love are taken from you, you can find the strength to keep going. You can find light in the darkness, courage in the fear, and hope in the grief. And as I finally allowed myself to close my eyes that night, exhausted and emotionally raw, I whispered to Doug, to myself, and to the universe, I will survive. I will honor your memory. I will not let fear control me. Because grief is a storm, but storms pass. And somewhere, beyond the chaos, there is life waiting to be lived again. The next morning, the house felt heavier than ever. I woke to the pale light of dawn filtering through the blinds, and for a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The phone call, Doug's death, the unbearable weight of Joey Armstrong lurking somewhere in my life. I wanted to stay in bed, to hide under the covers forever, but Nicole was already in the kitchen, brewing coffee. The smell of it was strangely comforting, grounding me in the small reality of the present. Morning, she said softly, placing a steaming mug in front of me. Her eyes were tired, but alert, scanning me for any signs that I might collapse again. Sleep well? It was a ridiculous question. How could I sleep? How could anyone sleep after losing the person you loved most in the world? I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. I keep seeing him, Nicole. Everywhere I look, I see Doug. She nodded, understanding immediately. That's normal. Your brain is trying to process something that's almost impossible to process. It's going to take time. And I'm here, every step of the way. Her words should have been comforting, but the thought of Joey Armstrong waiting, scheming, and dangerous made it hard to focus. I wanted to scream, to shake the walls of the house, to demand justice for Doug, but there was a knot of fear in my stomach. Joey wasn't just anyone. He was calculating, intelligent, and ruthless. And he had the police in his pocket. Marcel Malone wasn't just a cop. He was a weapon Joey had used to orchestrate Doug's death. And now, as I tried to process that, a sinking feeling told me Joey had more plans. Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. My heart leapt into my throat, and I froze. Nicole saw my reaction and immediately stepped between me and the door. Vanessa, breathe, she said firmly. You don't have to face him alone. I didn't answer. I didn't move. My hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't even reach for the door. And then Nicole did something that felt almost like a shield. She opened the door, letting me step behind her as she confronted whoever it was. It was Joey. Of course it was. He didn't rush in, he didn't even smile. He stood there, arms crossed, the kind of calm menace that sends chills down your spine. Vanessa, he said, his tone almost casual, as if we were having a normal conversation about the weather. We need to talk. I don't want to talk to you, I said, my voice cracking. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. But I was trapped in my own home, the sanctuary of grief now invaded by fear. He tilted his head, studying me like a predator, sizing up its prey.
You will talk to me.
There are things you don't understand. Nicole stepped forward, placing herself directly between us. Vanessa doesn't owe you anything, Joey. You're not welcome here. For a moment, I thought he might lash out, but then he leaned back, smirking slightly.
Fine.
I'll play nice for now. But know this. Be careful who you trust. Not everyone is on your side. Not everyone wants to see you safe. And with that, he turned and left, the door clicking softly behind him. I sank to the floor after he left, my body trembling. I had never felt so vulnerable, so exposed. Nicole sat beside me, pulling me into her lap, letting me cry into her shoulder. He's just words, she murmured, rubbing my back. He can't touch you, not if we're careful, not if we stay smart. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Joey's presence was like a shadow over my life, dark and unrelenting. Every time the phone rang, I flinched. Every knock at the door made me jump. Every unexpected movement in the house made my heart pound. And through it all, Nicole was my anchor, keeping me from falling completely into despair. In the days that followed, I tried to focus on the things that mattered. Honoring Doug's memory, leaning on Nicole, and slowly rebuilding a sense of safety in my own home. But Joey's threat lingered like a poisonous fog. I knew he was watching, planning, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The fear was constant, gnawing at my insides, and yet I began to notice something else: resilience. It came in small doses. In the way I could sit through breakfast without breaking down. In the way I could drive to the grocery store without panicking. In the way I could talk to Nicole about my fears without feeling completely helpless. Each small victory was a reminder that I wasn't powerless, even in the face of someone like Joey Armstrong. And then there was the reminder of life outside my grief. News about Leslie Thomas and her daughter Eva, whispers about Shanice Johnson and Derek Baldwin. At first, it all felt trivial, almost insulting in the face of my personal catastrophe. But as the days passed, I realized that life didn't stop. People continued to live, to make choices, to move forward, and somehow I had to find a way to move forward too. Nicole encouraged me to start setting boundaries, to reclaim my home, my space, my life. You can't change what happened, she said, but you can control what happens next. Don't let fear run your life. It wasn't easy. There were nights I sat awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Doug's last moments over and over in my mind. There were moments I screamed into pillows, moments I cried until my eyes were swollen and raw. But gradually, I began to notice something. The pain didn't consume me entirely. There were cracks of light breaking through the darkness, moments when I could laugh, when I could remember Doug with love instead of only with grief, when I could feel something other than fear. One evening, as Nicole and I sat on the back porch watching the sun dip behind Fairmont Crest, I realized that survival isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Joey Armstrong might be dangerous, and life might have dealt me an impossible hand, but I was still here. I was still breathing. I was still capable of love, of hope, of courage. Nicole squeezed my hand. You're stronger than you know, Vanessa. Doug wouldn't want you to be consumed by fear. He'd want you to live. Fully. Even now. And I believed her. I really did. The grief would always be a part of me. Joey's shadow would always linger in the corners of my mind, but I was learning to navigate it, to carry it without letting it crush me. As the days passed, I took more steps, small, careful, deliberate steps, toward reclaiming my life. I cleaned Doug's favorite chair and placed a blanket over it, not as a shrine, but as a way to honor him while also moving forward. I allowed myself to laugh when Nicole cracked a joke, to smile at a memory of Doug without feeling guilty, to imagine a future that didn't revolve solely around loss. And most importantly, I began to understand the power of human connection. Fear isolates you. Grief isolates you. But friendship and love, real, unconditional support, can be the rope that pulls you back from the edge. Nicole's presence, constant and unwavering, had reminded me that even in the darkest times, I was not alone. Joey Armstrong's threat had been terrifying, but it had also awakened something inside me, a determination, a resilience, a refusal to be paralyzed by fear. Doug's death was a tragedy, but my life was still mine to live. I had choices to make, boundaries to set, and the courage to reclaim my home, my safety, and my future. By the time the sun rose over Fairmont Crest on Friday morning, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks, a quiet, tentative hope. The storm hadn't passed, it would never fully pass, but I had learned to stand in it, to navigate it, and to survive. I knew there would be challenges ahead. Joey might strike again. Marcel Malone might still be a lurking threat. The world was unpredictable and dangerous. But I also knew this. I had faced the impossible, and I had survived. I had felt grief so deep it threatened to swallow me whole, and yet here I was, still standing, still breathing, still capable of moving forward. Life wouldn't be the same. It couldn't be. But perhaps that was the lesson. Sometimes survival doesn't mean returning to what you had. Sometimes survival means learning to carry your losses with grace, to navigate fear with courage, and to let hope, however fragile, light the path forward. And in that moment, I promised myself and Doug and the universe itself, I would live.
Fully.
fearlessly, and I would not let darkness define me. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this.